There is a small green island where one white cow lives alone, a meadow of an island. The cow grazes till nightfall, full and fat, but during the night she panics and grows thin as a single hair. What shall I eat tomorrow? There's nothing left. By dawn, the grass has grown up again waist high. The cow starts eating, and by dark, the meadow is clipped short. She's full of strength and energy, but she panics in the darkness as before and grows abnormally thin overnight. The cow does this over and over for many years, and this is all she does. She never thinks, this meadow has never failed to grow back. Why should I be afraid every night that it won't? The cow is the bodily soul. The island field is this world, where that grows lean with fear and fat with blessing, lean and fat. White cow, don't make yourself miserable with what's to come or not to come.
We're beginning the 19th and last month of the Bahá'í calendar, as we talked about in our video on the Bahá'í calendar. And so it's the month of fasting that precedes the first day of spring, the Bahá'í New Year. Whereas the Gregorian calendar, which we currently use for the most part in the Western world, is the names of months that don't really mean anything to us. October and November are named for the numbers 8 and 9, and they're not even the 8th and 9th months anymore, because the months July and August, named for Julius and Augustus Caesar, got put in the middle, moving them forward. And so there's also no connection to the natural world or to the spiritual world. And so the Gregorian calendar is divorced from nature, both physical nature and spiritual nature. I mean, midnight is not the start of the day, and January 1st is not the start of the year. It's not the vernal equinox when spring begins the year. But now with the Bahá'í calendar, time has become spiritualized. The names of the months are named for the virtues and attributes of God. Now all the days are holy days in a sense because they've been made spiritualized by being named for virtues. So in a sense, the days, the time, we have the potential, if we inhabit time, to become in the image and likeness of God by becoming these attributes, these transcendent virtues. However, in the Bahá'í calendar, as we begin this 19th month, we've just completed a time of the year that is analogous to something we know. But first, just for a quick review, the Bahá'í or Bahá'í calendar is 19 months of 19 days. So that, of course, then means that there are 4 or 5 days that are left over at the end of February, intercalary days. And these days have no name of God. They're called the nameless days. In fact, in the Kitab-i Aqdas, the most great book of Baha'u'llah, he says that that Ha is a symbol of the essence of God, like Baha. And so the days of Ha commemorate the transcendence of God over his attributes, over his names. They don't have names because God cannot even be known by his attributes or virtues. So in that sense, the days of God, these Ayyam-i-Ha days, are the Aha days, because it's, in a sense, it's getting a little bit closer to God, because we're not even trying to name him. And in Baha'u'llah's own words, he says that we have ordained these days as the manifestations of the letter Ha, and thus they have not been bounded by the limits of the year and its months. So it's a time, he says, to provide good cheer for ourselves and for our kindred, and to sing the praise of God and to magnify his name. So I said that at Ayyam-i-Ha, these days of Ha are analogous to something we know, and that is Mardi Gras. Mardi is French for the word Tuesday. And so Fat Tuesday, or Mardi Gras, is a time for getting fat on the material world with pleasure, what the Brazilians call carnival, or the word we know as carnival, because carne means flesh or meat. And so Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, is a celebration of the flesh the day before Ash Wednesday, which begins the Catholic season of Lent, the 40-day period of fasting and restraint. So we see there's a dialectic in nature going on between the bodily and the soul aspects of the human being. It's a dialectic between both of our natures, something that's gone on in other religions and now in this time as well, between Ayyam-i-Ha and this period of restraint called fasting. And when they end, Baha'u'llah says, these days of giving, when they end, let them, meaning us, enter upon a season of restraint, the fast. So the month of fasting is particularly powerful for realizing these attributes of God. Baha'u'llah says that the religion of God can be compared to heaven, and in that heaven, fasting is its sun, and obligatory prayer its moon. He says, cling firmly to obligatory prayer and fasting. So it cannot be overestimated or overemphasized how powerful and important is this 19th month of the year to prepare us for the new year, for the first day of spring. So personally, I feel that one has to enter the fast the same way one would enter a marriage. Divorce is not an option. In order to make the commitment, we can't have that back door open. And so eating is not an option during the fast. When you allow for the possibilities of making exceptions, it's really much harder, I think, to both remain married and to observe the fast. So, for example, today it's so common for romantic couples to live together as sexual partners, what used to be called shacking up. But what this arrangement is really saying is, well, I'll enjoy you as a sexual partner until someone better comes along. And this common practice in these days, in these lax moral times, really epitomizes the arrested adolescent mindset of so many adults today. Because frankly, what we learn through in attempting to inhabit spiritual time is that none of us are free agents. We are what we commit to. And if we cannot commit, we're really dust in the wind. I often joke to youth that if you're looking for a marriage partner, observe whether they observe the Baha'i fast or not, because if they can't commit to Baha'u'llah, how could they possibly commit to a spouse? Now, speaking about sex in context of the fast is appropriate because Abdu'l-Baha reminds us, quote, fasting is a symbol. Fasting signifies abstinence from lust. Physical fasting, he says, is a symbol of that abstinence and is a reminder that just as a person abstains from physical appetites, he is to abstain from self-appetites and self-desires. So fast, this 19th month, is a time to emphasize our spiritual nature as rays of the sun, as the image and likeness of God, and to de-emphasize our material and biological lesser identities that the world seems so divided over nowadays with this identity politics, emphasizing the different size and shapes of the human mirrors, as opposed to the common vocation of all of us mirrors to reflect the rays of God. So with that, Let's conclude with another wonderful poem by, actually, first I would like to read a quote from a letter from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States that was actually written 41 years ago about the fast. And then I'll play another poem by Rumi as recited and translated by Coleman Barks. So this is from the NSA of the United States. The fast provides a special opportunity to explore the subject of sacrifice. As exhilarating as fasting is, some regard it as a period of great inconvenience, when comfortable daily routines are suddenly shaken up. But that is precisely the point. We are required to forsake our familiar ways so that we may purify our souls and rid ourselves of all attachment to anyone but God. For 19 days we receive lessons in self-sacrifice, a quality that Abdu'l-Baha has identified as a prerequisite for all progress. He writes, quote, "Until a being setteth his foot in the plane of sacrifice, he is bereft of every favor and grace. And this plane of sacrifice is the realm of dying to the self, that the radiance of the living God may then shine forth," unquote. So the letter goes on to say, from the National Spiritual Assembly, let us try to take that important step then unto the plane of sacrifice during the coming month, by subduing our selfish desires, by performing humble and self-effacing service to foster the spirit of love and unity within our communities, by contributing to the fund a greater portion of the wealth God has bestowed upon us, and by going out of our way to touch the hearts of others with the warm glow of love that we ourselves experience. What better time to transform ourselves spiritually, to revitalize the material affairs of the cause, to change the world? And here's another poem by Rumi.
Once a sheikh and a disciple were walking quickly toward a town where it's known there's very little to eat. The disciple says nothing, but he is constantly afraid of going hungry. The teacher knows what the student thinks. How long will you be frightened of the future because you love food? You have closed the eye of self-denial and forgotten who provides. Don't worry. You'll have your walnuts and raisins and special desserts. Only the true favorites get hunger for their daily bread. You're not one of those. Whoever loves the belly is brought bowl after bowl from the kitchen. When such a person dies, bread itself comes to the funeral and makes a speech. "Oh, corpse, you almost killed yourself with worrying about food. Now you're gone and food is still here, more than enough. Have some free bread." Bread is more in love with you than you with it. It sits and waits for days. It knows you have no will. If you could fast, bread would jump into your lap, as lovers do with each other. Be full with trusting, not with these childish fears of famine.
enjoy the Lord's Supper. And then, Happy New Year.